listening just to culture, just to everyone around us, we need to stop and say, well, how does this line up to what the Bible says?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that's it. That's the key.
Remember, tell us about the time when you and I were on an airplane and there was two people behind us talking.
Well, you know how when you're in your seat in the airplane, you can't see the people right behind you, and if you don't want to be honest, you don't just turn around. But we could hear them, and all of a sudden we hear this lady, and she's talking to the guy next to her, and she just starts asking him questions about, like, oh, so what do you do?
They weren't together.
No, they didn't know each other. So he at first was just like real short with his answers.
Quiet, more of a silent type guy, deep voice.
Yeah. And she was like, oh, so what do you do? And then he would say, and she'd be like, wow, that sounds so complicated. Like, how do you do it? She just kept asking question after question. And I was getting kind of annoyed because I was thinking, oh my goodness, what if he's married? She's like totally seducing him the way she's talking to him. And it wasn't like she was saying bad things. It was that she was so endearing. She was so engaged. Like, she was building him up
admiration.
So much. Yeah, so much admiration that I was like getting a little frustrated inside of just trying to imagine someone doing that to my husband. So as soon as the flight was over, and you could stand up, we're both like looking back to see who it is, and it wasn't what we thought it was.
No.
I mean, I pictured this lady like super, like, good looking, trying to seduce this man.
Yeah, provocative, just very attractive. And no, she was not at all. She was unkept and very homely looking like lady, but the guy stood up like feeling like $1 million. She was like, man, it's such a pleasure meeting you. Like, thank you for looking into my soul and making me feel good. Just the power that there is in showing respect to women.
Yeah, I mean, it's very powerful.
So when a husband feels disrespected, he has a natural tendency to react in ways that feel unloving to his wife. And when a wife feels unloved, she has a natural tendency to react in ways that feel disrespectful to her husband. So I'm going to give you 3 points here just to close out this first introduction. We're going to talk about this next week more in depth, give you some practical tips. But here's 3 practical tips. So recognize and control the crazy cycle. Realize that the enemy is not your spouse. The enemy is actually wanting to destroy the relationship between you and your spouse.
Yeah, and the issue, whatever it is you're fighting about, isn't even the issue. It's not about that thing. It's not about what he said or she said or did.
Yeah, on a conflict resolution seminar that we learned from a good friend of ours back then. I haven't talked to him in years, but he has a ministry, and he had a technique called a courageous conversation. If you go to our website, wintheirheart.com, you're going to find it under tools, heart to heart. Questions you can ask the other person when you have a conflict. And you need to listen and take turns listening to each other. And the first rule is to tell yourself a good story. What do I mean by that, honey?
Yeah, you mean that usually we see the other person as the villain in the story. We're the victim and they're the villain. But we have to change the story we're telling ourselves. That person isn't a villain. That's changing the story.
Yeah, instead of telling yourself a story where, like, a bad story where you're the victim and you would say, why would this
terrible, horrible, evil man do this to me?
Yeah, who doesn't love me do this to me?
Yeah.
Say, why would this man who deeply loves me would say something that sounds so unloving? Give him the benefit of the doubt. And on the other hand, too, instead of saying, why would this witch who disrespects me, doesn't believe in me, say something like this to me? Say, why would this lady who loves me and respects me and sees the best in me, why would she say something that sounds so disrespectful? There's got to be a reason. And we're going to give you some tools on how to unpack that problem, how to detonate that bomb, which is because what's on the surface is not necessarily what's underneath. And that's the key to a long-lasting relationship of any kind. So that's number 1, control Recognizing control, the craziness, the crazy cycle. Number 2, energize each other with love and respect. So start investing in the other person. Start investing in your wife, acting lovingly. Start to decipher, what does she sense that love means? And what does the husband, what does he understand by respectful behavior? Because not just the personalities, honey. Were you going to say something? Sorry.
No.
Oh. But also the different love languages. We'll talk about that in a future episode, but there's a really good book called The 5 Love Languages. One is words of encouragement. The second one is physical touch and closeness. Number 3 is, what's the other one? Gift giving. Acts of service. And then quality time spent together. So, for example, one of Pam's highest gifts is acts of service. So I've learned that one way for me to show love to her is that if she's working in the kitchen, to go ask her and start talking with her, spending time with her, asking her if I can help somehow. Sometimes without asking, just go and do a few dishes, She will receive that as me communicating love to her, even though that's not very high on my scale of gifts. but also at the same time, even though it's not high in my love language category, when I go to I've been to somebody else's house, and I see that there are limitations in the lady's cooking, and I'm like, wow, I don't ever want to take Pam for granted because her gifts are such a blessing to me, too. Yeah. So, energize each other, invest into each other's language, love and respect. And number 3, enjoy the rewards of a godly marriage. If you start sowing love and respect, you will reap what you want to receive, love and respect.
Yeah. Yep. So we'll talk more about how to get off the crazy cycle and identify when we're on it, right? Because it's tough, It happens really quickly, but we can get off. There is a way to stop it.
Yeah, it's a process. And we just want you to focus on agape love, right? The Bible talks about phileo love, which is friendship. I know we already talked about it, but I just want to summarize that. And it talks about sexual attraction, eros, and it talks about agape love, which is unconditional, sacrificial love. Just focus on, it's going to be an investment for which you will get rewarded too. Yep. All right. Well, anything else, honey, that I haven't mentioned?
No, that was good. So this is Cesar and Pam with cesarandpam.com.
Thanks for logging in. We'll see you on the next one. Remember, we want to help you grow your business, your career, without losing your soul, your family, or health in the process. See you on the next one.